Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon for our update. Before I start, I'd like to thank the ASL interpreters for making themselves available at short notice. If they haven't quite arrived yet, they are en route. As usual, I will turn this over to